The Ukrainian people, a nation that has been reborn in suffering and war, is a battle nation that we Chinese can hardly imagine. Although the territory of this Eastern European continent is in Europe, the population is only tens of millions, which has risen repeatedly at the critical juncture of life and death, and has stood up to the enemy with its flesh and blood. Especially in the Second World War and the Russian-Ukrainian war that is still going on today, the Ukrainians have proven to the world with their amazing spirit of sacrifice and national will that they are a nation that cannot be conquered. In other words, Ukraine made a huge sacrifice in World War II. During World War II, Ukraine was one of the main battlefields of the Soviet Union against Nazi Germany. In the Operation Barbarossa of the Nazi German invasion of the Soviet Union, Ukraine became the main offensive direction, and its plain terrain and agricultural resources made Ukraine strategic. Therefore, this has become a focal point where Germany and the Soviet Union have repeatedly clashed. Ukraine was almost completely occupied, and the people were enslaved, and the economic culture was destroyed. During the war, about 7 million Ukrainians directly or indirectly participated in the war. The Ukrainian soldiers in the Soviet Red Army accounted for more than 15% of the total force. They fought hard in decisive battles such as Stalingrad, Kursk, Warsaw, and Berlin. More than 4.5 million Ukrainian soldiers died on the battlefield, and a large number of civilians died in the massacre of the Nazis. In the Babi Yar Gorge in Kyiv alone, more than 33,000 Jews and civilians were massacred by the Nazis in just a few days. Ukraine also has a strong guerrilla tradition. During the German occupation, a large number of Ukrainians formed anti-fascist guerrillas in forests, swamps, and villages. They did not have armed support, relying on local knowledge and mass base, constantly harassing the enemy, and even establishing liberation zones in some areas, which became a symbol of Ukraine's resistance. 2. The roots of the Ukrainian national spirit, history, land, and faith. The strong will of the Ukrainian people not only comes from the war itself, but also from its unique history, culture, and land memory. Ukraine's history is a history of resistance to foreign oppression and struggle for national independence. Since the ancient time of Kyiv, this land has been constantly facing foreign invasions. Mongolia, Poland, Lithuania, Osman, Serbia, and the Soviet Union. Every generation of Ukrainians is looking for self-recognition under the oppression of different forms. Ukraine's Cossack tradition is especially worth mentioning. Since the 16th century, Zabolozhi Cossacks have become one of the strongest military groups in Eastern Europe. They believe in freedom, autonomy, and democracy, and have been famous for their troops. For a long time, they fought against the Ottoman Empire, the Polish nobles, and the Russian Tsar. The Cossack spirit has been deeply imprinted in the blood of Ukrainians. Freedom is above all else. We will not yield to death. Unite to fight. In addition, the Ukrainian national faith is deeply rooted. The culture of the Eastern Orthodox Church and the local religion have jointly shaped the spirit of the Ukrainians. They believe in the glory of their ancestors, believe in the significance of sacrifice, and believe that justice will eventually prevail. Today, Ukraine has once again awakened the iron will of the people. After entering the 21st century, Ukraine has once again been swept into the whirlpool of geopolitics. In 2014, Crimea was engulfed. In 2017, the Donbas region was hit by a clear Russian split. In February 2022, the Russian army invaded Ukraine in full force, trying to quickly control the capital Kyiv and overthrow the government. However, the Ukrainian people have once again erupted a shocking national will. President Zelensky refused to evacuate. "I need ammunition, not a convoy." Ordinary citizens took up arms to defend their country. The elderly and the young, volunteers and mothers joined the National Defense Forces. The national mobilization was not for the strong enemy. Faced with the Russian army, Ukraine not only defended the capital and the big city, but also launched counterattacks in places like Kharkov, Kherson, and Zaporizhia. In the European and American media and the intelligence community, it is often predicted that Ukraine will fall in a few days. This nation broke the prophecy with actual action. They rebuilt the military industry, developed drones and cyber warfare, opened up the European and American aid channels, and formed a nationwide mobilization system. Even in the darkest stage of the war, the Ukrainian society did not collapse, did not yield, but became more united, more firm. Ukrainian women took the lead in the frontline soldiers' uniform and city operations. Teachers continued to teach in the basement. Artists performed in the ruins, and soldiers and farmers planted fields in the fire. This is not only the survival of war, but also a witness to the spirit of the nation. 4. Why is Ukraine unbeatable? The reason why Ukraine is unbeatable is not only the firmness of the military, but also a comprehensive reflection of the national character. A strong sense of independence. Ukraine has never really obeyed any imperial rule, whether it is the Soviet Union, or modern Russia. They have always insisted on national autonomy. The national identity of the people, whether they speak Russian or Russian, the Ukrainians are united at critical moments, forming the national consciousness of Ukraine's priority. The spirit of heroic sacrifice. From history to today, countless Ukrainians have sacrificed for the freedom of the nation. This spirit has become part of the nation's character. The quick adaptation of combat ability, from the traditional army to the information war, the undrawn strike, the psychological war, Ukraine can learn quickly, integrate, and export war wisdom. If a nation is not afraid of death, love freedom, and dare to resist oppression, it is difficult to be completely conquered. Ukraine is such a nation. Faced with strong aggression, Ukrainians choose to stand up and fight to the end, not bowing to fate. Their unity, courage, willfulness, sacrifice is the most brilliant reflection of the spirit of the contemporary nation. As the ancients of China said, although tens of millions, there is no king. Ukraine is the embodiment of this spirit of the contemporary. In the future world, the Ukrainian people will win respect for their unwavering resistance. They wrote down the unbeatable national emblems with blood and fire. They are not a nation of the king, but a nation that regards freedom as life. Their battle is not for Ukraine, but for all the nations that love freedom.